It is reported that Japan and the Philippines signed an agreement called RAA Agreement, which allowed troops of each country to be stationed in the other country, allegedly for military training and other auxiliary purposes. This is a very serious development because it is apparently designed against China. I think most of the countries in our part of the world suffered from the atrocities of the Japanese fascists in the Second World War. And, for example, the occupation of Singapore, Malaysia, and the Indonesian and the Philippines, and all many Pacific Island regions. Now, this is a fact. No one should forget that. And forgetting this history of Japanese occupation atrocities and crimes against humanity is an injustice in itself. It applies to the Philippines at the same time. And I think there is a duty for the Filipino government to really always remind the people in the Philippines of what the Japanese fascists did in the Second World War. And don't forget all these crimes against humanity, including, for example, the sudden attack on Pearl Harbor. And it gives us more duty and obligation to promote peace and stability rather than, for example, rearming Japan and enabling Japan to send its troops outside of Japan, which is a violation of the Japanese pacifist constitution, to, let's say, the Philippines, because it may eventually do not only harm, but to injustice against all these crimes. And if Japan is allowed to move its troops to the Philippines, it will really constitute, in my best judgment, a serious violation of the constitutional arrangements of the Philippines. Therefore, I think efforts need to be made to call upon the Filipino people to really analyze their constitutional arrangement in such a way that the government in the Philippines should not be allowed to violate the relevant provisions in their own constitution to rearm the Philippines, not by themselves, but by foreign countries, and in this particular case, by the United States and by Japan, not for peace, but for preparation of war. It is well recorded that in recent years, led by the United States, countries like Japan, the Philippines, and Australia, and the United States are forming closer and closer military cooperation, including, for example, enabling each other's countries to be stationed or to visit the military bases or the facilities of the other countries. I think such activities have a very clear fingerprint. That is, it is against China. We know for sure that East Asia and Asia as a whole have been a magnet of economic development in recent decades. And we say that the shift of the economic gravity is fast getting to Asia as a whole, especially to East Asia and Southeast Asia. And therefore, all of us need to put a premium to peace and stability, because without such important preconditions, economic development will be wasted, and there will be no chance of continuing to promote economic expansion, globalization, and peaceful coexistence. And therefore, I think countries and people in our part of the world really need to see what is the motivation of the United States in urging for more preparedness against some other countries. They want to divide the countries in this part of the world into opposing blocks, try to agitate for confrontation or even military actions or even war.